Hello, loves. Today I have compiled quite a few good stories. Let's get started. Story: I got drunk and slept with my boss. How do I talk to him about it? I've a 26-year-old, got drunk and slept with my boss, 32-year-old, and I don't know what to do about it. I've never done anything like this before. This past Tuesday was a really bad day at work. We got threatened with a lawsuit, and on top of that, everything else seemed to be going wrong. Work ends late for us. My boss and I were the last ones there. We had been talking about how we needed a drink all day long, and that was going to be the first thing we both did as soon as we got home. It was just one of those days. So he invited me to go grab a drink. This isn't super unusual for the people I work with. We all actually like each other, for the most part, and some people hang out outside of work. I've never gone out for a drink with him solo though. So we went to a nearby bar. I had a few drinks. It doesn't take too much for me to get drunk, but normally I have full control over myself, like I just don't get that drunk that I do embarrassing things. Well, I rarely get that drunk, let's say. Can't claim it's never happened. Having sex with a coworker or a random person is definitely not something I've ever done when drinking. We ended up back at his place and had sex. I slept there, and the next day I could remember the details clearly enough. It was so embarrassing. I woke up at around 5 a.m. and got an Uber back to work where my car was and went home before I had to be at work for the day on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we avoided each other the best we could and only spoke briefly when it was absolutely necessary for the job. Luckily, I had pre-scheduled vacation time Thursday and Friday, but I work again tomorrow. The anxiety of facing him again is making me sick. And I'm sitting here at home wondering if everyone knows. What if he told somebody? The thing is that I was very attracted to him, but he was my boss, so what could I do? I also could never tell if he was interested in me at all because he's sort of aloof and it's hard to gauge him sometimes. We got along great though, and this is the best place I've ever worked, so I don't want this to completely screw all of that up. What's the appropriate thing to do here? I feel like I should say something to him about it, but I don't know what to say or how to bring it up. Maybe I should just not mention it and continue to let things stay awkward indefinitely, but it's so uncomfortable. I want to just clear the air about it, but what do I even say? I got drunk and slept with my boss. Now things are really awkward at work. I want to talk to him about it to maybe clear the air, but I don't know how to bring it up or what to say. Story: is it time to let go? My BF, 20-year-old, and I, 19-year-old, have been dating for over a year now. Our relationship is drastically different from when we started dating. Side note: we have been long distance this whole time, but we'll be meeting soon. I just feel like I love him way more than he does, and his actions don't reciprocate. He claims to love me more, but I express it way more than he does. Initially, he would spam my phone with messages, send me updates all throughout the day, send me random appreciation paragraphs, express how he's feeling to me all the time. He doesn't do that anymore. I used to do that too, and at the start we would match each other's energies. Now I still do all of this, but he doesn't reciprocate, nor does he show appreciation. For example, I send him cute selfies and new dates throughout the day on Snap. He sees them like 2 to 3 days later, claiming he doesn't use Snap that much. I text him, he takes hours to reply. His replies aren't the best. We do video call every day and he says he's a bad texter, but I've seen how nice of a texter he was at the start of our relationship. Whenever we argue, things get very heated, and he tends to say hurtful things to me. Yes, I get angry too, but I don't hurt him as bad. Despite his reassurance, some things are hard for me to get over. I reassure him all the time, give him updates without him having to ask, and shower him with affection. That's all I want in return. I constantly express to him how I miss that clingy energy, and now I just feel like I'm being clingy and desperate when I'm not even like that as a person. He says he will change himself, but he doesn't. Even in arguments, he hurts me a lot at times, and it just feels horrible after. I love him so much. I've never ever had this much admiration for anyone in my life ever. I know he loves me too, but I just feel like I shouldn't have to beg for the love I deserve. I once did bring up the topic of breaking up, and he went insane practically. He constantly says that his life has no meaning without me. I'm more than happy to spend the rest of my life with this boy, but if it comes at a cost of not being loved in the way that I love him, I just feel like I need to reconsider. Off late, I feel like I've just been drained out and have been starting to slowly pull away from him. He is noticing and starting to get more affectionate, but I've stopped reciprocating, and I just don't want to fall for this again because even though he promises to change, I feel like I'd be stuck in an endless loop of not feeling loved enough. Guess people were right when they said guys lose interest when you love them too much. I can't stay without him, but staying with him hurts me too. Yes, we have our happy moments, and our relationship isn't as bad as it may seem here since I haven't mentioned our good moments, but when we have bad ones, I tend to forget all the good moments we've had. He does make me happy when he tries to, and he knows it. I just wish he did more things like this without me having to ask. Losing him would hurt more than the pain of staying with him, but not being loved as much and you were before hurts too. Any support, advice, motivation, words of kindness, anything at all would be appreciated. I think I just need to hear what people have to say. Is this a normal phase? Is this the end? Do I really have to let go? I don't know anymore. Story: boyfriend is sneaking drinks. Me, 25-year-old, and my boyfriend, 26-year-old, have been together for 8 years. We have 2 small children and I'm a som and he is a local truck driver. Up until recently, my boyfriend had been getting drunk every day. Not belligerently drunk, but enough to where he would slur his words and act out of character. His drinks of choice are beatboxes and capriccios. They are boxed/canned wine and he'd usually have 3 to 4 a day, if not more. This started about 10 months ago when our second was born and he went on paternity leave, and it just continued to spiral into a problem. Recently, I'd say starting about 2 to 3 months ago, we went through a super rough patch due to the alcohol. We would get into a small argument about something, and it would progress with him getting extremely disrespectful towards me, yelling, putting me down, accusing me of being unloyal over insanely small things, picking fights, etc. He even got physical one time when we were arguing and I started listening to music on a speaker and he wrestled it out of my hand and then threw and shattered my phone. This was happening so often that I was breaking up with him at least 2 times a week, only to forgive him the next day when he would say he'll do better. About 2 weeks ago, I told him I hit the limit and if he didn't stop drinking altogether then we were done. I made it clear that I don't want to force him to stop drinking, only that I no longer want to be in a relationship with him if he is going to keep drinking. He told me our relationship was more important and he wouldn't drink anymore. This lasted about a week, until he one day asked me if he can get one drink. I felt like I was controlling him, and so I told him if he feels like he can drink in moderation and not get disrespectful towards me then I wouldn't get upset. This was where I went wrong, I know. Since then he's been upping the amount of drinks, we're back at 1 to 2 a day. Today, he comes home with 1 beatbox. A couple of hours later he is super drunk and picking a fight with me. I know him very well and I know 1 beatbox doesn't make him this drunk. So I start to pry and ask, you only had 1 drink today? And he tells me yes. So I tell him I know he's lying and I can tell he's drunk. After a back and forth for a little bit, he finally admits he drank 1 more in secret. I know based on the way he's acting, it was more than 1, I don't even know what to do at this point. I'm so lost on whether I'm wrong to watch how much he drinks or not. I don't want to be in the relationship we were in a couple of months ago, and I feel like it's going to end up right there. I don't even think I'm mentally strong enough to break up with him unless he does something very wrong. My alcoholic BF told me he'd stop drinking, now he's sneaking drinks. Story: IF23 met M25 on vacation. I think I am cheating on my boyfriend, what now? I am 23 and I've been with my boyfriend A for exactly a year now. He is my first boyfriend. And he is also my second ever kiss. First time and everything. He's 26 years old and everything I ever wished for. I have waited my whole life for someone like him. And I am a conventionally attractive girl, who goes out every week, parties a lot and all of that, but no one ever caught my eye. I had high standards and my boyfriend A has been the only person ever I felt really attracted to. We have a beautiful relationship, built on chemistry, trust and an intense energy. He is charismatic, charming, intelligent, you get the picture. The thing is I've been feeling weird ever since I met a new guy. Let's call this guy X. I went on vacation with 4 of my girlfriends in a city in the Balkans, where a lot of locals from our small country, Luxembourg, travel to. We have been here for 2 weeks and Sunday is our last day. On day 3 we met another group of guys from our country. 2 of my friends had a fling with 2 of them and started a sort of vacation romance with them, which led both our groups to spend almost the whole vacation together. X, the new guy I mentioned before, is part of this group. We all got along super well and had lots of fun. It was all very just friendly between the rest of us, besides the 2 new couples. So the days go by and we all get to know each other better. Inevitably you gravitate towards people you have more chemistry and balance with. So I noticed X slowly always getting closer to me. Not in a flirty way, at least at first. It was just more him sitting always next to me, talking more to me than anyone else. Usual things that happen naturally, I guess. Even though both groups were now together all the time, I found spending my time almost exclusively with X. We would isolate ourselves from the rest of the group and talk just to each other. I pretty soon found out he also has all the qualities my boyfriend has. He's smart, charming, super attractive. He even looks a bit like my boyfriend. They are also both gym guys and have the same body, lol. And as I said before, my boyfriend has always been the only person I met with all these characteristics that attract me. And now I am spending time with the second ever person I meet that is my absolute type. After the first days things between X and I started feeling different. I became aware of the energy between us. And while I wasn't doing anything wrong, it felt weird. I suddenly realized the way he talks to me is low-key flirty. I kinda realized he is always searching some physical contact. Be it a hug or touching my arm. And it was hard, but I realized I liked it. We started getting closer. When we sat together, the space between us started getting smaller, for example. The kisses on the cheek started becoming frequent. We talked and talked and talked while all the others were back at their respective hotels. And until then, I never had done something wrong per se. But 2 days ago, we were both on a sort of couch at a club and we hugged. We were drunk. He started kissing my neck. I let him do it for at least 4 to 5 seconds before stopping him. He said he's sorry. I asked him to never do it again and got up, went back to the group. He ended up going back to his hotel. The day after we acted like nothing happened. Then at night he got very drunk and told me he likes me. But he is trying to stop himself cause he respects me, cause I have a boyfriend. Then he said he never felt such a strong attraction to anyone. I just told him he's too drunk and tried to stop the conversation. Later on at the club we ended up dancing together. I was stupidly drunk too, and our way of dancing was honestly a bit too much. We were very flirty with each other. At the end of the night we had to get a taxi, and I ended up sharing it with him. We were both get up drunk. He hugged me. And kissed me. I stopped him. He apologized again. I told him we'll talk tomorrow. Today, when we met up again, I asked him to just stay away from me from now on cause things are getting out of hand. He said okay, he will. And then looked down the whole day. Our group noticed, they know stuff is going on, but they all tried to stay out of it. He managed to keep his distance the whole day. Now I was in my hotel to get ready for tonight and he calls me and says he's on my floor and asks me to come out of my room. I exit my room, determined to tell him I don't want him to come here. I find him standing against the wall, with tears on his face. He says he can't stop thinking about me. He starts saying he wasn't lying when he said he never felt like this for anyone. He says he literally craves my touch and my attention. He tells me he knows this is egoistical of him, but he's confessing 'cause he thinks I may feel the same way about him. And he says he wants to hear the truth from me. I tell him I have no clue about what's going on. 'Cause it's true. I don't know if this is a simple attraction that happens, nothing serious. I don't know if it goes beyond. I have almost no experience with these things 'cause I have never felt this way besides with my boyfriend. It does feel similar to when I met my boyfriend, yes. But I have real feelings for my boyfriend, and those are surely, certainly, stopping a potential intense crazy attraction and limiting it to a simple one. And I tried to explain this to him. I simply don't know. He asked me to please understand myself and then give him an answer. He also said I will understand more about it if I allow myself to kiss him properly. He apparently knows it's a lot he's asking for, and he knows it's morally wrong, but insisted it's the only thing that will make me understand. The crazy part is I have been contemplating it. This happened 1 hour ago. And it's why I am writing this post. I don't understand what's going on. Is what I am feeling a crush? If I have to be honest, I crave his touch too. I like being with him. I love spending time with him. I feel something, I feel butterflies when I am with him. I am 100% sure I am already at least emotionally cheating, and the realization is breaking my heart. My boyfriend doesn't deserve this. I love him, I really do. I have never ever even looked at other guys since I met him. I just don't understand myself nor what I am doing. We will soon all meet up and go clubbing, and I fear that something will happen. Plus, this isn't something that will end here, after this vacation. X lives 20 to 25 minutes from me. Our country is small. I am so confused right now. I wish I could tell my boyfriend straight away what happened, but I'll tell him as soon as I am back, that's for sure. I don't know how he will react. I fear he might break up. He would never expect something like this from me. I am disappointed in myself. How bad is this? How do I make everything okay again? How much of this is my fault? What should I even do? I've been with my boyfriend for a year and love him deeply. While on vacation, I met a guy, X, and we got close. Despite my efforts to keep things friendly, we flirted and kissed. X confessed his feelings, and I'm confused because I have feelings for him too. I feel guilty about emotionally cheating on my boyfriend and plan to tell him when I return. What should I do? Story, I'm F24, scared and excited about this next step. My BF, F24. Hey everyone, my boyfriend and I have been friends for 3 years and together for 1. We have the same friend group and everyone says how we are perfect for each other and we feel the same way. We're both ready for a change as our friend group has fallen apart, our city is extremely crowded, and we dislike our jobs. I've lived in this city my entire life and need to leave. I currently live with my parents, who support me financially on some things. I always pay them back, but I've been eager to move out permanently for years. My home environment is toxic due to my dad's mental abuse, cheating on my mother, etc. I've experienced a lot trauma here. Additionally, I have a restraining order against my ex who has been showing up to where I am, which adds to my desire to leave this city. In the past, I have lived with girl roommates for 5 months and my ex for a few months during COVID. I never planned on living with him permanently. I'm excited but nervous. I genuinely want this, but it's happening so soon. My BF's parents helped him co-sign for a nice beach house about 2 hours from my city, so it's nice because I don't have to sign my name or pay a lot. I will be helping with rent, groceries and utilities, but it would be much cheaper than getting a place on my own or with a roommate. Here are some pros to us moving. I have about 2K in savings and a good credit score. I just paid off my car and my college is also covered by scholarships. Has about 5K in savings and no debt. We have future plans and have been planning for a while. I'm in a 2-year graphic design program to get my degree finished and he's becoming manager of a very big restaurant. I will only be an hour drive from my school, same distance from where I am now. he's very good with his money and clean. He's an amazing chef and cooks for me every day. He's responsible and a hard worker. We barely argue, and my family loves him. His family loves us together and will help us with anything that we need. Whenever we have argued, we have always been able to communicate and move forward. We will have a house on the beach in a very rich city with plenty of graphic design opportunities for me. He is even making me an art room so I can have my own space. He's the best guy I've ever dated. End of next year we want to get engaged and then around 27 get married. We both want a cat, have plans for what we to do after I graduate and want to spend our lives together. We both want kids around 30 after we are settled in our careers and have traveled more. Here are the cons. I am scared and so is he. This is a huge commitment. My therapist said I should go for it, and some of my close friends and sister think it's a great idea and deserve it. Other friends say that he's rushing me and that I'm too young. They say I should wait more than a month, even though he says we should just go for it. My mom will prob be supportive, but I know my dad won't. He will prob start a fight or completely cut me off financially. I'm prepared for that. This will be my third time moving out. Although the past two weren't going to be permanent, this one most likely is. It will be embarrassing if we break up and I have to return home for the third time. I will be 2 hours from my family and friends. I have to leave in a month. That's about it. I'm extremely nervous and I guess I'm seeking out advice to make sure if I'm doing the right thing. I want to follow my heart, but I want to make sure it'll be okay. I've been betrayed and hurt a lot in the past and I'm just worried. How do you guys think I should go about this? Is it too soon? DRBF and I have been together for a year and are ready to move out together another 2 hours from our hometown. We have a lot figured out and our relationship is wonderful, but I'm nervous. Story: should we break up? Here is my situation. I, 30-year-old, am dating a guy, 34-year-old, I met about 5 months ago. We clicked and it was going well for the most part. However, lately, I've been feeling a strong urge to end the relationship. He hasn't done anything wrong and there are no big red flags. Just some little things like, he always talks about how supportive and helpful he can be to me, and how friends and family always rely on him for things. So one time I mentioned I was having car troubles, nothing major like an oil change equivalent, and he got excited and started talking about how he will fix it for me, how his love language is acts of service and he is the kind of guy that will surprise me and fix things without me asking. It's now been 3 weeks and he hasn't attempted a fix. I ended up doing it myself, which I was fine doing in the first place. Writing this out makes me feel like an entitled person, but I wasn't asking him to fix it, he just offered and didn't go through with it. He doesn't ask interesting questions. I mean, we had the basic get-to-know-you stuff when we first started dating. But sometimes when I try to share something, he kind of cuts me off saying he knows all about it. I'm pretty sure he doesn't, because it would be like a niche topic from my work. I feel like he isn't curious. I have an advanced degree and sometimes I worry he doesn't want to ask questions that sound stupid. I think he is a smart man and I'm always excited to talk about things I'm working on / reading / watching, but he doesn't show interest. The mansplaining. The other day he insisted on explaining to me how an umbrella works when we were getting out of the car on a rainy day. I know how to use an umbrella. I called him out on this, and he responded that he was just trying to help. He is a little high maintenance. We went out of town together for 2 days. When we got to the hotel, he spent 20 minutes arranging his bedside table just right. Another example is in the 5 months we've dated he has only slept over twice at my place. It's always expected that I spend the night at his place. His excuse is that he has a house, I live in a rented apartment, and my apartment is too small. Mind you, I live alone in a 2B2B and it's well kept. I think he is just more comfortable being home. I have to say though that he is always a good host when I'm there. He doesn't like trying new things. I feel like I'm always advocating for trying new restaurants or new activities. He has lived in the same town all his life and has just settled into a routine and way of life. When I talk to him about this, He always answers that he loves trying new things and will focus on doing that. Then he doesn't go through with it. You might be thinking 5 months is not a lot of time and I should just move on if I don't feel a spark. But I'm worried I'm getting into this pattern of seeking an unrealistic perfect relationship. In the past 2 years, I have met a couple of other guys that were decent people that I broke up with after 2 to 5 months because of little things like this. I have also hit my 30s and really want to get my life together. So here are my questions. Are these good enough reasons to break up? Am I settling if I stay in this relationship? Should I count my losses and move on? Do I need a reality check because he is actually a good person? Is it fair to him to stay in the relationship if I feel like I'm settling? I am in therapy where I've discussed my relationships and relationship styles, but I wanted to vent and get some outsider internet opinions. Dating someone for 5 months, and I feel like I'm settling. There are no major red flags, should I move on? Story, boyfriend, 24M, says he's checked out and only I, 24F, can fix the relationship. Should I stay? I'll start by saying I know that if I'm here asking this it probably isn't great, but I also like to make sure I'm getting fair advice when trying to share both sides. Me and my boyfriend have been talking for over a year, dating for 8 months. It started off as a super casual thing since we were both recently out of relationships and then it ended up developing into a relationship later on. I'm not going to lie, I've always had my suspicions on how much he likes me versus how much the relationship was based off convenience. He never asked me to be his girlfriend, he just eventually said one day he started telling people I was his girlfriend because it was easier than explaining what we were doing. He's never been super physically intimate outside of sex, and even our sex life isn't per se romantic or intimate ever. A month or 2 into us actually dating I found out he was actively using Tinder and messaging other girls, which I brought up but with grace since I knew we did kind of weirdly transition from something casual to something committal, probably my initial mistake in hindsight, maybe I should have just left there. He was very apologetic at first, but I'll wrap back to this later. I've planned and organized every trip and event we've ever been to together. Got him things for Christmas, his birthday, Valentine's Day. None of this has ever been reciprocated. I haven't been able to get him to ever really do things with just me, go to the beach on weekends, go out for coffees, etc. He just stays home and games, and I DoorDash every meal. He gets upset at me really often, which is usually due to my avoidance, which I 100% do have avoidant tendencies and acknowledge and try to work on, that ends up triggering him getting anxious and small problems turn into big yelling matches. He claims my lack of communication shows I don't care and don't take the relationship seriously, which I just have a hard time justifying given the effort I put it to every other aspect of this relationship. We're now kind of in this cycle that anytime I get avoidant, he either blows up with anxiety or re-downloads Tinder to start looking for other options. He used to feel bad whenever I would find out he was using Tinder, but now it's turned into like a punishment I should expect for being avoidant. This has now happened 5 times, the most recent on Monday, leading to an argument that ended in him saying that if I still want to be together I have to be the one to fix it as he is checked out. Meanwhile he was the first one to say I love you, has said many times he wants to marry me, talks about our future together which just really confuses me. I do love him and we do want and value similar things in life, but I'm not sure if this is actually something that will just go away and be fixed with me having better communication, or if that's just a scapegoat being used to excuse poor behavior. Do you think the relationship worth trying to fix, or should I walk away? Should I break up with my boyfriend who doesn't seem that into me, or try to fix the relationship? Story, I fall in love, F25, with my male friend, M25. Missing him and questioning if I am delusional. I have met my friend 10 months ago. From the very beginning it clicked as we have similar sense of humor, perception of reality, and music taste. Normally, we ate together in the canteen or went for a walk. Later, friendship has developed as to our pair joined other male friends. In December I felt that I had feelings for my friend and was even ready to broach the subject further, but at some point he stopped talking to me. My friend is an introvert and I have an assumption that he is also autistic. He is also a genius, who is playing a lot of computer games. He got back to me after the Christmas break so that we could get together and exchange our adventures from the festive period. In the meantime, I had developed feelings for another boy and decided to continue a friendly relationship with my friend. In the meantime, this other boyfriend broke my heart, but this did not change the attitude towards my friend, with whom we were alone at the theater or restaurant at the time. At the same time, we spent a lot of time in our uni group of friends. I am only female within the group. The emotional situation changed during one of the university trip during which we spent a lot of time together. When we returned, we still went to the cinema together and I actually tried to spend more time with him, but, as in December, he suddenly cut off contact with me for some time. I can't hide the fact that it broke my heart, but I kept my head busy with exams and dealt with these emotions. Later on, we started spending more time in our pack of friends, not separately, again, and at the last party after graduation we chatted with each other for half an evening, sipping wine from the same bottle. The next day, while driving home, something inside me snapped and I spent the whole day crying thinking about him. I thought that with time these feelings would pass, but now when I think of him I feel very sad and torn all the time. We are now in contact because he asked me for help with one issue. But the whole situation makes me ruminate even more on the emotions that have risen within me. I've started to ask a lot of questions. It seems to me that this kind of soul connection is the key to a relationship, but it's really hard for me to judge because I've never been in a relationship. I managed to become friends with his friends, who are from his high school. With them we have a very good connection to the point that I started spending time with them separately as well, and we established a deep relationship, especially with his BFF girlfriend. In turn, when we needed help with something, even the smallest thing, we always turned to each other, not to other friends in the group. Maybe it's just a beautiful form of friendship. Really, I don't know, maybe it's all just sitting in my head. I'm also holding back from taking steps because I found out, but not from him, that during uni my friend rejected 2 girls who proposed to him to move the relationship in another direction. However, it seems to me that the relationship with them was not that deep. He has just moved month ago to the other country. I met my friend 10 months ago, and we immediately clicked due to our similar sense of humor, perception of reality, and music taste. Over time, our friendship grew, but in December, just as I was developing romantic feelings, he suddenly stopped talking to me. Although my feelings evolved and were complicated by another relationship, my bond with him remained strong, leading to moments of closeness and abrupt distance. Now, as we maintain contact, I'm left questioning whether our connection is just a deep friendship or something more, especially since he has previously rejected romantic advances from other girls. Story: we, 24F, 24M, ended things due to distance. Why can't I get over it? Hello. I, 24-year-old, met someone, 24-year-old, at a work-related event which started as a friendship for a day or two, then a fling, and by the time the event was done, 2 weeks, we both caught really strong feelings for each other. It was totally unexpected, and I can confidently say I have never felt genuine feelings for someone like this before. We both told each other that we had feelings and were sad to say goodbye. For context, we both live in major cities which are a 4 to 5 hour commute away. After the event was over and we went back to our cities, we had a conversation about what to do. He and I agreed that starting a relationship from distance wouldn't be possible for us, but we were both devastated that this was the case. He asked me if we could still be friends and I agreed, partially because I still had some hope about it working. Over the next few weeks we were in contact every single day, and my feelings for him just got stronger. I had no idea what to do. By coincidence, I was going to the city he lives in for a weekend with some friends. I let him know I was going to be in town and he asked to see me platonically. I think we both knew it was not going to be a platonic meetup. Well, we met and it was fantastic. We went on a date and afterwards agreed that we couldn't be just friends. We discussed how we felt over the last few weeks and basically said everything short of I love you. He told me he was also thinking about me non-stop the whole time we were away from each other and how he was so happy to see me. Again, I've never felt like this for someone before. The next day, I had to go somewhere and we decided to meet again that night and have a conversation about where to take this. I went into the conversation asking him if he wanted to try distance. Unfortunately, he said he still thinks he can't after thinking about it during the day. He didn't want us both be hurt in the future when it might not work out. He told me he got burned pretty badly in the past when he had a relationship end due to distance. I didn't ask about the specifics. He said if it wasn't for the distance we would absolutely be dating/trying for a relationship. I didn't ask him to reconsider, but I was super upset because I feel like this was something that could have been really great. I told him I couldn't be friends with him anymore because I knew it would be too painful for me and he agreed. A couple days later I called him to get some final words in because I was too upset to fully say everything in person. I told him I didn't think it was a good idea that we saw each other again even knowing that we probably wanted different things regarding distance. He agreed and said he was still trying to decide, but apologized regardless. Then when we were starting to say our final goodbyes, he said, well, whenever you're ready to be friends again, let me know. And I was sort of shocked, because in my mind this was essentially a breakup. And he explained that it would be completely platonic, but he would like to be friends one day. I said I don't know if it would be possible for me to ever be friends with him. And that was it. I thought I would be over it by now, but I literally cannot stop thinking about him. I have never been a person to push for anything relationship-wise, but I would do just about anything to make this work. I feel as if his last comment about being in contact one day was leaving the door open. I have no idea if I should let it go, or reach out again one day, which I know is not the best idea and might make me seem crazy. For now I am taking space to see how I feel later. Any advice would be appreciated. Met someone who I think is fantastic, however, he cannot make it work due to distance. Is there any hope? Story, feels stuck in my F31 relationship. Partner, M31, shows narcissistic tendencies. Don't know what to do. Hi, my partner and I have been together for 5 years. Engaged for 1. Our relationship started out great and have lived together for 5 years. I work in the same city as where we live. He works 5 hours away as a firefighter, so works 24-hour shifts. He is borderline alcoholic. I don't drink because family has had alcoholics in it. Excess drinking is a trigger for me and he knows it. He never gets drunk in my presence while we are dating. Our relationship started out great. We fell in love pretty quick and saw each other every weekend. We decided we wanted to move in together after almost a year of dating. We decided that it would be easier for him to move up here since he only works 10 days a month. He could come and go at easier points of time and miss hard traffic. So he moved up and I moved 20 minutes to our new house. Things were not great from the start. He was very possessive of our house from my parents, who are my best friends and who I remain very close to. He was not like this at all while we were dating. I lived with them, for crying out loud. New rules are placed on me. I'm made to feel like I'm not allowed to hang out with my friends that are guys. I'm not allowed to just have my parents come over and hang out. A few months go by and he moves stations thinking this is gonna be good, it's chill, he can relax. No. He gets into a depression. So I try everything I can to help him out of it. I drown my own feelings and concerns to put him first and help him get through it. This turns into everything becoming about him, how it makes him feel, how it affects him. I chalk it up to depression and don't fight against it. He starts drinking. I try to get him to not drink to the point of passing out and ask him to put them down on several occasions. He blows me off. I try to ignore it. He tries to hide a 12-pack from me. I find the box in the trash. I am upset and let him out that I am upset. This destroys my trust in him. If he hides this, what else is he hiding? A few months go by and I realize that my own well-being has become tied up in him. I start seeing a therapist. I start to get my confidence back to be my own person again. I start asking for things in our relationship. To be seen as someone he loves and not a roommate or a convenience. Nothing changes. I ask for him to help give a little into our relationship so I'm not the only one holding it together. Nothing changes. He never has any answers to my questions or comments about our conversations. But the minute I call him out on things, he tries to change the conversation or just shuts down. A few weeks go by and I ask again. Nothing changes. At this point, I am convinced that he has completely checked out from our relationship and has found someone else to get what he's not getting from me. I don't even know what that is. I go through his phone. I immediately regret my decision as it is a huge breach of trust, but I did it anyway. I don't find cheating, but I find that he has been confiding in other people about our relationship. Meanwhile, he tells me I'm not supposed to confide in my own mom about our relationship. I lie to him when he asks me about it. Which wasn't a good thing to do. He distances himself further. The truth comes out. I apologize profusely. Nothing I do seems to make up for it. Weeks go by and I ask again for help in our relationship to make it better. To help heal what I caused. Nothing. Instead, I am met with resentment. New rules are placed on me that I have to follow. Meanwhile, he can do whatever he wants. My mom is turned into the bad guy because I fill her in on what is happening in my life. I am treated worse as a result. He starts making me feel like I have to pick between him and my family. Meanwhile, my family are the ones supporting me and helping me deal with this while he retreats even more. He tries to manipulate me into thinking everything I do is wrong when it's something for me. Every few weeks I ask to have help fixing our relationship. Nothing changes. He then asks if we can move because the drive has become too much for him. He then gets pissed at me for not saying immediately yes. We start paying to couples therapy. He never once apologizes for treating me like crap. He never admits he did anything wrong. He starts playing mind games with me. I make a point in saying that our relationship needs to be fixed before we move or it will be the same problems in a new place. It then suddenly becomes too much for him to do it. He has to move in order to make the effort in our relationship. Nothing else will fix it. Nothing I do now will help make his life better. We have hard arguments. One leads to almost complete breakdown. I call my mom and tell her what happened because I am freaking out. He resents me for calling her. For including her in our relationship. Now it's me versus you and your mom. He tells me that it's because of how awkward things are with him and my parents now that they know what's going on. And that it's my fault that they don't like him. Still doesn't take responsibility. We get into more arguments. He can't see why it's so hard for me to do this for him. He can't see how the whole last year has been absolute shit and how this is supposed to make it better. He can't understand why I'm not excited for it. He wants me to make up shit to my own family about why we are moving because he don't want them to know the real answer. He then has the balls to ask me why doing this just to make his life easier isn't enough. I don't know what to do at this point. My brain says leave. Hell, half my heart says leave. The other half says move and see what happens. The fuck? Story, brother is becoming red pilly and I don't know what to do about it. My 28-year-old brother, 24-year-old, has become hard to talk to lately because he has such extreme critical views of women. I don't understand how he can have such a skewed view and so vehemently spew toxic rhetoric. And I wish I knew how to bridge the gap. Is there a way to do this? Or do I have to wait for him to find himself? Am I overreacting at his statements? He is so extreme in his view on women that it has softened my hatred of men, which stemmed from being abused over and over by different men, because I felt like I was looking in a mirror reversed. In every other aspect he is very forward-thinking and liberal. But when it comes to women, it feels like he has lost his ability to critically think. We all rise together when we tackle issues facing people because of gender stereotypes. He believes that is me being an apologist and not giving men's issues the space they need. But these issues are inherently interconnected. He has some points, in fact, at the very basis, many of his beliefs I also agree with. But the way he chooses to interpret them, as well as view the root cause and solution, is wildly different from me, and he gets so aggressive, or passionate, that I have started avoiding him and the topic. My special interest is psychology, and I have a dual degree in it. I also have a special interest in abuse, and have studied a wide variety of resources and materials on this topic. This isn't to say he can't be educated. I just believe my evidence shouldn't be discounted, as I have worked so hard to understand this topic. So to constantly have any of what I would venture to say expertise spat on and told I absolutely know nothing about these topics feels harsh. My reality has been being abused by men, and watching my sisters and mother be abused by men. From my point of view, which isn't absolute truth, my brother's reality includes being loved and supported by most of the women in his life, including his sisters and aunts, who struggled to survive adulthood and didn't want him to struggle alone. We have always made sure he had help and guidance that we didn't get, because we were expected to figure things out on our own. So to hear him say no woman has ever listened to his feelings, while he pours out his feelings to me, is demeaning. We were all abused by my mother. However, my mother held very sexist beliefs, and he was the youngest, so he was adored and treated special until all the sisters had moved away, at which point, as abusers often do, my mother turned her abuse on him full force. I know this has caused issues with how he views women and mothers. He says things that sound misogynistic and even has started to sound a lot like my abusive exes, which has caused me to start resenting him because the way he treats me sometimes feels like a, albeit smaller, less intense, echo of the way my abusive exes treated me, and it makes me angry that he judged me for staying so long with these men when he sometimes sounds/treats me like they did. I feel like I was primed to accept the mistreatment, and he played a small part in that. For example, he says women have it better than men, and now men are the disadvantaged group. It feels like women are taking our gerbs. We grew up in the Bible Belt where women were told they couldn't perform jobs like being a doctor or firefighter, and had to be subservient to men. I struggled when I went to school because in STEM classes, men are the majority and they still heckle women for being there. The girls in my family all were expected to maintain the households and get perfect grades and work their butts off to graduate college, because it was instilled in us that nothing was going to be handed to us for free. Versus the boys, who were allowed to diddle-dally along through life, and now struggle because they didn't graduate, can't maintain a household, and so on. I can see that this sexism caused problems both ways. It hurt both the girls and boys in my family in different but equally impactful ways. It is wild to me that even with all this history, he somehow believes within a few short years women have become the dominant group and men are now the minority group. He believes many men are single because women have it easier in the dating world, which at face value may be true. However, he doesn't see the connection between women no longer wanting to clean up after men, and that is a huge factor and why women are choosing to stay single. Instead, it is because of how evil feminism is at vilifying men. He seems to believe women are more shallow and he is single because they inherently view all men as rapists, or expect them to have tons of money. I want to ask him if he would date a woman in his position. The answer would be no, but I'm not wanting to hurt his self-esteem. He will often convey his feelings by yelling or being hateful. When I explain I can't meet him on solid ground when he is doing this, he starts ranting about how this is another tactic of women. Feminists. Men are viewed as inherently dangerous and can't share their feelings without being labeled violent. No, you can share your feelings, but screaming is violent. When I scream or am mean, I am immediately shut down and have learned to communicate better. It is on him to learn to communicate better. Insulting is not sharing feelings. Only sharing your feelings to make a point is not sharing your feelings. Women want to hear your feelings, but it is important to recognize the difference between sharing feelings and being a jerk. I pretty much have to clean the entire apartment myself. He gets angry and says I don't recognize his contributions, and that it isn't my fault I have higher standards. Then continues to leave chores for me. And he doesn't see the connected between the fact that he as a man can just do that, choose to not clean and know that the nearest women will pick up the slack. He keeps citing a vague statistic that claims women abuse men more often, which in my experience is a statistic that has only ever been used to put women down, not lift men up. Men do get abused, and do deserve more widely accessible resources for that, but I have researched and studied and continue to find the same statistics, that even when accounting for forced penetration and unreported assaults, these crimes are by a wide majority perpetrated by men. This is important to recognize when trying to come up with solutions, because it indicates social and cultural differences that allow for this huge difference to exist, and which if tackled may lead to improvement. It is like he is in an internet vacuum that is saying it is women's fault that you don't have the job you want, or the relationship you want, etc. It is turning him increasingly toxic. I really want advice on how to navigate this without continuing to feel mistreated or resentful. My brother has started spouting women-hating rhetoric, and it is straining our relationship. Story: I, 35F, asked my boyfriend, 43M, if having me in his future was worth standing up to his dad. He said he needed to think about it. I'm crushed. The background: his family owns a farm. I've always wanted the farm life. Not exactly this kind, but I'm more than happy to make compromises. His mother is from an oil family, so she's got a pretty large trust from that. A few years ago, she came to us and told us she'd like to pay for us to build a house on the farm. I am eternally grateful to her and all her kindness, which I frequently express to her. After a lot of discussion, my boyfriend decided he instead wants to build a shed where he can work on machinery as an additional way to make money. I understood his reasoning, and after checking with his mother, it was agreed upon. We planned to build a much smaller home near it. That smaller home Aldi ended up getting scratched, and he decided to build a residence inside the shed. Again, I relented. His mother had cashed out an annuity, and when the check arrived, it had both her name and her husband's name. He immediately cashed it into his account and sent a check to the shed company as a deposit. He always does this kind of stuff. He's a selfish man who only sees his wants and his needs and is oblivious to everyone else. Because of this, and because of him taking over the shed project, we've been concerned he views the shed as his, not as our home. Sure enough, he'd spoken to his wife and mentioned that we would be just getting a travel trailer. And that's where we'd live. When she told him that wasn't the plan she heard, he just ignored her. Now, my boyfriend never stands up to his father. He's basically his yes man, as he was raised to be. I explained to my boyfriend that he couldn't do that with the residence. His mother is entirely paying for it, giving his father no say in it. So he just needs to stand up to his dad and tell him that's not what we're doing. We argued for a while over it. Have been for the last couple months, actually. I told him this is my home and my future. It's his mother's money, and we're already changing what she originally wanted it used for. We eventually got to the point where I told him that there were two options. The easy one: he comes to the farm alone and lives in a travel trailer and I go my own way. Or, we talk to his dad and try to find a compromise. After a very long time of him considering this, he responded, "Can I have more time to think about it? There's so much more to add to our relationship woes. But so much good, too." He's selfish, just like his dad, but he listens. He communicates. But I have to ask for everything. He never takes time on his own to think about me. I've come to terms with this. I am genuinely happy in this relationship. Right now. But now I'm so terribly afraid I may not be in the future. Especially a future I'm not getting any say in. I don't know if this relationship is even worth staying in anymore. Story: I, 24M, think I don't love my girlfriend, 26F, anymore. Can anyone give me advice on how to get out of this? I, 24-year-old, have been with my girlfriend, 26-year-old, for about 3 years now. I don't think I love her anymore. I feel stressed when she is around. I enjoy being by myself more. I have tried everything to fix this. We've had long and hard discussions about how we can fix it. We've tried to spice things up. We've tried, and I'm so tired of trying. I don't think she is a good person. I often feel like the Jiminy Cricket on her shoulder, like she looks to me for advice on what the right thing to do is. She works dead-end jobs with no aspirations of doing anything with her life. She smokes so much and I am sick of breathing it in. She often tries to make me feel bad for having a dream for my life. Once, she smashed a glass on her forehead so I would stop talking about how unhappy I was with our relationship. I feel so clocked out, but I'm so scared to break up. I realize that I'm the only one standing in my way, but I've never had to do this before. My past relationships lasted only 1 month to 3 months, so this feels different. I often fantasize about having an affair or being with someone else. I don't want to have sex with her anymore, and I fantasize about being with someone else when we do. It feels like a chore to even kiss her. She likes to make it out that I've never done anything for her, but I've taken her on dates, we've traveled together, I cook and clean, I've taken care of her, all while trying to balance it with my work life. She makes me feel worthless. She hates taking care of me when I'm sick. She refused to get me medicine once when it was raining, so I had to walk in the rain while ill to get my own medicine. She's so lazy. She's the laziest person I know. As I type this out, I'm realizing so much I don't like about her. She doesn't exercise and hates any and all physical activity. I love being active, and she would never play a game or do a sport with me. She flirts with other men to get a rise out of me and even gaslights me when I catch her. Honest to God, the biggest reason why I stay with her is because it'd be too expensive and a hassle to move. But I think I have to nut up and just take the financial hit because I am so depressed. There is no love anymore. I feel dead to the relationship. When a close family member passed away, their first response was, "Hey, pal. How's it hanging?" There is no empathy. There is no room for my feelings. There is no room for me to grow or feel good. It's all just a never-ending pit. She is the most miserable person I know. She is jealous and petty and judgmental. She embarrasses me in front of people I like by saying personal stuff about me. She is cruel and a small person in character. I don't respect her. I think it's time to end it. I think it's time to start over. It's just so hard to think about having to begin again. I am scared and worried and don't know what to do, but at the same time I know exactly what to do. What do you all think? I really need other people to motivate me out of this, as I can't do this alone. I don't like my partner anymore for many reasons, and I am too anxious to leave. Story: girlfriend keeps attacking me, ex-post due to insipid replies. She has done it before too. I, 33-year-old, am stronger than her, 33-year-old, so she can't really hurt me unless she actually uses a weapon, but it's still not nice at all when she screams so loudly that my ears hurt. I am very sensitive to loud noise usually anyway, and then comes and attacks me. The first time she did it last week, she actually drew blood from scratching my arm, and the marks are still there 2 weeks later. The physical attacks started 2 weeks ago. She's a worrier, and I opened up to her and told her that because she worries so much about certain things, there are times when I'm afraid to share certain details about my life for fear that her response will actually just make the situation harder for me. I also told her that I've started getting rushes of adrenaline, like butterflies, in response to fairly normal stimuli. For example, when my phone rings, my stress hormones are out of whack entirely. She didn't like that at all and responded with rage about how I never address her emotions. She left it about that vague. When I tried to drill down, I got only more vagueness. After a while I asked her why we're talking about her emotions when I'm the one raising the problem, and she said we discussed my problem and it's dealt with now. I can't remember what triggered it, but soon after that she pounced on me and scratched me, and I said to never do it again, but she did it again the next day and then a few days after that, as well as smash things around our apartment. Her reasons for doing so are vague and unclear to me. And her apology includes rationalizing her behavior by saying she is stressed. We both are, we're buying a flat together that is supposed to complete in 2 weeks, and that it's my fault for goading her. By goading she means me trying to ignore her insults. Obviously I am not without blame here, but really I was trying my best. I was a very good boyfriend to her. I went on fun adventures with her. I do way more than my share of the cleaning. I cooked a delicious home-cooked meal from scratch 5 to 6 times a week, as well as bring her lunch each day when she works from home. I do the shopping for said meals. I listen to her. And I generally loved her very well. Of course she had things to bring to the relationship too. To add significant insult to injury, I am killing myself trying to run the release of an app one built from scratch. It's not a crazy amount of money, but it started to bring in about $4,000 revenue per month, which I obviously hope to grow further, and I feel that a big break is coming. What I'm really proud of though is that some of my users message me directly and tell me how much the app has helped them, which is so important to me. I've worked on this app harder than I've worked on anything my whole life, and a few nights ago, after the 3 physical attacks, she called me a scrub, meaning a lowlife dirty jobless man. I snapped at this point and haven't spoken to her since. I have been locked in my room all day and she is trying to lure me out by leaving chocolates and water outside my door, and I just can't stand it and have nowhere to go. She has been funding the deposit for a new flat and paying for lawyers, etc. She's a lawyer actually, so she makes a decent salary, and honestly at this point already I am starting to feel financially trapped. I feel cheated. I know women can give their man some shit sometimes, but this is too much and I just don't deserve it. I know I don't. She is extremely stressed with the flat, even more than I am, as it has been a messy and heartbreaking process that has lasted for 5 fucking months now. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because I am leaving her. I know now for certain after writing this that I need to leave her, but I'm in a fucked up situation now where I'm not making quite enough to rent a place with any ease at all in my current city, so I will need to legally pull out of buying the flat. I need to sell all of my stuff, and I will need to move to a different city where things are much cheaper. Bye and see you again in the next videos and stories.